What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know the secret and effective, very powerful goal-setting method that I use that you can use week by week to move yourself down the field of success? Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you exactly how to do this. Normally, it's $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time.
You're listening to the Inner Strength Show. If you want to step into your greatness, you've come to the right place. Here is your host, the human strength expert, Kyle Newell.
What's up, everybody? It's Kyle once again with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. This is episode number 101. Last week I did not do it on Facebook Live because I could not get it to connect, but I'm back. And today I'm going to be talking about just kind of the bland stuff that I do, or the boring vanilla stuff that I do that's allowed me to live a life on purpose and a life of design, which is, I think, what most people are after. They want a life of fulfillment and a life of freedom. Before I get into all that, I want to kind of talk about some of my story from bodybuilding back when I used to compete. So many people that were in that culture are still in that culture. They entered it because they thought they were going to make a name or they're going to make a living by competing, when they didn't realize that you don't make a living through bodybuilding. They weren't thinking outside the box. And they're still stuck in this culture where their body image is their self-image, where I use it as a stepping stone. I always looked at bodybuilding as, let me learn, let me do this, and boom, then I was out of it. So I gained great knowledge and experience from it, what not to do in particular. And I used it as a stepping stone to kind of launch Newell Strength. Whereas when I go watch a show here and there, if we have somebody competing, first of all, I don't like being in that environment anymore, that culture. But it always makes me chuckle when I see guys from 10, 12 years ago that I competed against that are still competing. But a lot of these people don't think outside the box. So whatever you're doing in life, think outside the box. Think of how you're going to use this to propel yourself to the next rung on the ladder. All right. So some of the stuff that I've been focusing on and I've been tweaking and I've been doing some of it for a long time that people kind of dismiss. A lot of people will come to me for what's called mind map coaching. With mind map coaching, I basically, through years of studying, I have a knowledge of how the brain works. Okay. So I can explain how the brain works on terms that the person can understand while making it specific to their situation. And we come up with a strategy on a habit or an action they can take to transform their life. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that there are no secrets. There are no shortcuts. They want the next greatest thing, the next big thing. So journaling, I mean, if you look at like this whole thing, when you go through here, I have drawings and whatnot. But it's journals. I have journals all over my desk over here. So what's the power of journaling? Journaling brings clarity. It's like therapy on paper. Nobody is ever going to read your journal. You don't have to worry about, I can't write this, I can't write that. And when you get caught up in, I cannot journal, that shows you that you need it even more, right? Journaling brings clarity. And the way you do it is you just start writing. Doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to be connected. But journaling is where I come up with my ideas for creating content and writing and gaining clarity in my life, where I'm at, reflecting on what's been great. Like every day I go through and I write down my 3 wins for the day. So it allows you to focus and bring clarity to the process. I know it's not a sexy thing and it's something that people are going to say they don't have time to do. But to me, it's imperative to journal if you want to have a life that's worth anything. And it's much different if you actually write. Cursive engages the frontal cortex of the brain much more than if you type it into a computer. You don't get the same emotional connection or the same wiring into the nervous system. The next thing, which I've been pounding for the past couple months, when it comes to the body, people want these magic shortcuts, and yet they don't want to hear about sleep. I don't have time for that. Well, Yeah, I got my nighttime routine. I got to watch this show. I got to do that show, whatever. Sleep is the foundation for the rest of your fitness. And we always talk, right, about the fitness pizza pie. You got sleep, exercise, nutrition, learning, fun/play, and relaxation. Sleep drives everything, and it's the foundation. Now think of a pyramid, and then think of a triangle sitting on its point. The one that has more stability is the pyramid, right? Wide base. That's your sleep. Most people are trying to balance their life on this fine line of what are drained. They got a little bit of energy, they're drained. Sleep is the foundation. Sleep will change your body more than any exercise program, more than any diet, more than any secret supplement. And it's not exciting to talk about, but it's the fact. Reading is a huge part of my life. Every time I've hit a tough patch and I can't seem to think of what the next step is, or you want to give up, and we all go through that. It's been a book usually, something in a book that I flip open and say, there you go. Write it down. It gives you clarity. It's been a great mentor to me to have my library of books that I can turn to at any time. And reading gives you access to brains and minds from different eras that you're never going to actually talk to. And that's okay. Do you read it, you absorb it, and you move on. When we were at the block party the other day at the gym, an old friend who I hadn't seen in a while, grew up with me and my brothers, was saying how excited he was to see what had Newell Strength turned into. And he goes, I remember you started this in the basement and, all this stuff, right? And it's become much larger than me. And I told him, I said, what's really interesting, Donnie, is, all those years when I was trying to prepare and studying and learning this, learning that, because I didn't want to be left behind. I wanted to have the best thing out there. It's almost like I was over-prepared because I would go to seminars after the fact and conferences, and you realize how much all this reading and studying was not the norm that's out there. And if you look at any of the coaches at Newell Strength, they have the same mindset. They're studying, they're learning, they're studying. People are not studying. Most people stop their learning once they get out of school. That's where the real learning begins. All the stuff that I know of fitness and nutrition, 99.5% of it is stuff that I learned through experience. Not stuff that I learned in school when I was going for my undergrad or my master's or any of that. I don't even remember any of that stuff. It was meaningless. It was the stuff that I learned from practical application, things like bodybuilding, using that as a stepping stone. What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know the secret and effective, very powerful goal-setting method that I use that you can use week by week to move yourself down the field of success? Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report showing you exactly how to do this. Normally, it's $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time. A couple other things. Be aware of your thoughts. There's a big difference between a response and a reaction. If I react, you're going to react. And me and Devin talk about this all the time with Braxton, and Colt's not quite there yet, but how are we responding to him? If we react, he's going to react. He's got a toddler's brain. The frontal cortex of his brain is not online yet, so he's basically an animal. He's got his animal brain. And he's in that terrible twos or whatever, a big transition point for him. And I always say to Devin, when we sit back and talk about it, we need to formulate a response. If we react, he's going to react. In life, you don't have to give somebody an answer right away. You can sit back and formulate and think about what it is you want to get out of the situation. Most people, right, and this seems to be a common thread when I do the mind maps, is they're always saying yes to other people. They're always putting other people first or saying yes to everything. You have to reframe that. And that means you're always saying no to somebody, and usually that's yourself. So if I say, hey, Jimmy, you want to do this? Yes, boom. That's a reaction. A response would be like, let me think about it. I got to get back to you. I don't know what we got going on. And then what do you say to the person if you don't want to do such and such? You always lead with the truth. So that's a guiding principle. We could go off on principles. I did an episode a couple months ago about that. But anyway, recognize the difference between a response and a reaction. Now, last thing I want to go over is these are 4 of the F's that I wrote out in the summer, how these all tie together. I made notes on these. So I had a big financial goal back in September. But how were my focus, my family, my fun, and my fitness going to support that goal? And I'll kind of go through this, but it's important for you to think about as well. Remember, you have fun, focus, finance, fitness, and fulfillment, or freedom. Freedom and fulfillment are the other two that I always talk about. So that gives you 7 F's. But with focus, it's going to keep me on task. It's going to grow my confidence. It's going to keep the goal the goal. So that's a principle I live by. The goal is the goal. The goal is to keep the goal the goal. And the purpose of any goal is to increase your level of happiness. It keeps my mind optimistic, keeps my energy levels up. And a focus is meditation and focusing on my wins for the day. That's it. Family, it's writing a letter to Devin in the mornings. I write a little couple sentences every morning, and I also work on any issue that's been bothering me. I journal about, and I get clear on that, because if I don't do that, then it's going to affect my family. So very important. But working on the family piece allows me to stay connected to my why, makes me work harder for my free days. So throughout the years, I've had to learn, how do you manage your weeks? How do you allocate your energy? And part of that is having free days where I can recharge. It gives me a support system. It gives me the inspiration I need. Every thought and everything that drives all the stuff that I do is, am I building something for my family that's going to last and give them the security? Fun. So fun is usually, I just rank that as 1 point. And that is, did you do something fun that day where you laughed or that you enjoyed that was just for you? So for me, a lot of times it might be watching 15 minutes of a show. It might be playing with the boys and just kind of getting out of my element. But fun is where most people lack. It gives my brain the break it needs. So when it's time to lock in, I'm locked in. And it re-energizes me. It allows me to feel great in ways that nothing else can. Play ignites your brain. Gives me social connection. It fills, the need of my mammal brain. So the mammal brain is for connection. You have something called your anterior cingulate cortex in the mammal brain. And most people, if you're type A or you're overly driven, you almost shut that part of your brain off. And you got to bring it back online, because the mammal brain is where you're going to connect in life and where you're going to enjoy life and get the most. Relationships or everything. If you didn't have any relationships, if you were the only person on earth, your life would kind of be meaningless. So you had to think about that. And fitness. Fitness to me is no longer, as I said, I use bodybuilding and stuff, so it's no longer how jacked I can be or any of that stuff, right? It's increasing my energy levels, makes me mentally tougher and more resilient, gives me a foundation that always centers me, gives me clarity of thought, allows me to always start my day on a positive note. I like to do something in the morning. So this morning I'm not hitting the gym, but I take the dogs for a walk in the morning, up and down the hill a bunch of times until I feel good. And it makes my brain feel great and alert. So that goes back to journaling and all the stuff I talked about. Are you sleeping? Are you learning, reading? And are you journaling? Those things will take your life to the next level, and your body, because as you learn, you implement. As you sleep, your body changes. As you get clarity in your life, you have direction. So that's it for episode number 101. Kind of just some habits that I use to enhance my life and that have been boring, but I've been consistent with, and I haven't gotten bored with them. Most people have stuff that's boring, or they get bored and then they stop doing the very thing that's working. And think about nutrition with this. Most people have a plan that's working, but then they see, I want to switch to this because this is in vogue right now. Doesn't make sense. I will be back next week with episode 102. Please leave a review on iTunes if you haven't done so already, and share this with a friend if you found something helpful here. I appreciate you tuning in, and that's all I got for
you. You've been listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you enjoyed the show, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes.